Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, respected audience. Hope you are all good. I welcome you in my new video. Today in this video, we are going to discuss Shakespeare's one of the greatest tragedies, King Lear. King Lear is famous as Shakespeare's The Dorcas tragedy. It was written in 1606. Basically, this is related to King Lear, the King of Britain, and his tragedy. When he became very old, he decided to divide his kingdom among his three daughters, Goneril, Regan, and Cordelia. So he tested their love, that how much you love your father. And two elder daughters, Goneril and Regan, they flattered their father when actually they don't love, and their love was not sincere. On the other hand, Cordelia, who was the youngest of all, she loved her father too much. But as she was loyal and sincere, she said that she loved her father according to her duty, according to her bond. Anyhow, Lear did not like this reply. So he gave the kingdom to his two elder daughters and he banished Cordelia from the country. This play is about blindness. Blindness is a very common theme of this play. Blindness to oneself, blindness to others, blindness to emptiness of power, and blindness to self-knowledge. And most of these important blindnesses, they are applicable to King Lear. There are two main plots in this drama. One is the plot related to the family of King Lear, and the other plot is related to Earl of Gloucester and his two sons, Edmund and Edgar. So this play has one main plot and one subplot. Lear's mind was to enjoy his late life when he's too much old, extremely old. He wants to pass a carefree life now. But as he was having absolute power in the country, so this absolute power could not develop very good relationship between himself and his daughters, and this became the reason of his tragic flaw. One of the reasons it was. Now first we start with the analysis of the character, starting with protagonist King Lear. Now King Lear is a protagonist who, according to the theory of tragedy by Aristotle, he fulfills the conditions. He's a man of high social rank, he's the king of the country, and he has a hamartia, tragic flaw. We will discuss it. Anyhow, King Lear, he was very old, but he lacks self-knowledge. This is his greatest tragic flaw. Anyhow, he brings chaos on his state because of his own follies and his excessive pride. On the other hand, King Lear is unable to judge the things in the right way. He is unable to judge the situations. He is unable to judge his friends, like Earl of Kent. He is unable to judge his daughters. Especially Cordelia was misjudged by him. And all these misjudgments, they brought great destruction to the state. King Lear is unable to judge what is right and what is wrong, what is evil and what is virtue, what is loyal and what is disloyal, what is flattery and what is fairness. So he could not understand the flattery of the elder daughters. On the other hand, he cannot judge properly the sincerity and fairness of Cordelia. Goneril and Regan, they both detested and rejected their father when they got the power, because they had the half of the power, they both. So now they did not entertain the desires of their father. So they wanted to wipe out every opposition against him, even their father. With the passage of time, King Lear learns wisdom, but it was too late. And ironically, he learns wisdom from the fool. Now, two very important tragic flaws of King Lear, they are rashness and excessive pride. He is too rash. He does not take time to decide what to do with his three daughters, especially to Cordelia, who was a very sincere and loyal daughter. Instead, he issues an order to banish her from England. On the other hand, he is such a bright person that he could not afford or bear any kind of criticism. So that was the reason that he even punishes one of his most sincere courtiers and ministers, Earl of Kent. So as he was a foolish and unwise king, so he has to pay for it later on. When he lost power, when he lost honor, when he lost peace, and ultimately he becomes mad and dies. He faces tragic death. But before his tragic death, he becomes tragically mad. And this was because he saw the dead body of Cordelia in his own eyes. Cordelia was executed, and King Lear saw the death of Cordelia and ultimately her dead body. So this was very, very unbearable for King Lear. So ultimately he becomes mad and a very miserable and wretched creature. So because of his hamartia of excessive pride, misjudgment, lack of self-knowledge, and they lead him to the final destruction. Now we come to the characters of Cordelia, Goneril, and Regan. First, take Cordelia. Cordelia is the youngest of all the daughters of King Lear. She was disowned by her father because she was loyal and she did not flatter. She was right, she was fair, she was honest. But her honesty, it took him to the state where she was punished and her sufferings started. So she is a lady who has high regard for her father, that even she was banished, punished, and detested by her father. She comes back from France to England to help her father in this difficult time. So, because of her fairness and virtue, she was proposed by the King of France as her queen. He married, and she becomes the Queen of France. Anyhow, she's so loyal and fair character that even she forbears her two cruel sisters, because after all, they were her sisters. So she shows a very good attitude and temperament even towards her sisters. She's very devoted, especially to her father and her husband. She's very kind and she's a very beautiful lady. So she has the qualities of both heart and mind. In the middle part of the play, she is mostly off stage. She is there in the earlier part and in the final part because she goes to France, and here there are some other developments. So when she is reunited with her father, this shows that there is a kind of reconciliation in this world. There's a kind of restoration in this world. The things can be normalized and they can go back to their earlier status that was based on peace. Anyhow, she is absolutely innocent, but because of the unjust behavior of this world, she was finally executed. She was punished. Her punishment, it was not a deserving punishment. She was very innocent, but because the world is cruel, it is unjust, she was punished. When we come to the characters of Gondrel and Regan, we will discuss their characters combined. So, because they share some of the evil qualities which they both have. Gondrel is the eldest daughter of King Lear. Her husband is Albany. On the other hand, Regan is the second daughter of King Lear and her husband is Cornwall. Albany is a good-natured man as compared to Cornwall, who was a very cruel man, who ultimately gouges the eyes of Earl of Gloucester. Anyhow, Gondrel and Regan, they both are clever, evil, hypocrites, flatterers, rude to their father. They turned their father out into the storm. They were so cruel. What was their flattery, their words, and now what were their actual actions? So they have no conscience at all. Their only appetite is to have power. Their only greed is to have power, wealth, authority. So they were ambitious to crush all oppositions of their father, of their sister, Earl of Gloucester, anybody. So this very ambition becomes the reason of their downfall ultimately. On one hand, they have desire for power and their sexual desire for Edmund, but on the other hand, this destroys their alliance and eventually they destroy each other. So in this play, there is a great lesson by Shakespeare that evil turns on itself inevitably. That they were evil, but the very evil was turned finally on them. So Gondrel poisons Regan out of jealousy over Edmund because they both love Edmund, they both want to marry Edmund, but out of jealousy, Gondrel poisoned Regan and then kills herself after her treachery is revealed to her husband Albany. So they both deserved this punishment because they were cruel to others. When we come to some other important facts of this play is consisted of two main plots. Two plots. One is the main plot and the other is subplot. In the main plot, we have the family of King Lear and his three daughters. And in the subplot, we have Earl of Gloucester and his two daughters, Edmund and Edgar. Edgar was a good-natured man who represents virtue, goodness. He is a legitimate son of Earl of Gloucester. But Edmund, he represents evil. He is an epitome of evil. He represents evil. He is illegitimate. So he has a negative kind of nature. Always he tries to give harm to Edmund. So the way Gondrel and Regan, they flattered their father. They deceived their father. In the very way Edmund also deceives his father. Earl of Gloucester was blinded by Cornwall. That's why both Lear and Gloucester, they have a parallel relation with one another. Both are fathers. One has daughters, the other has sons. But both were detested by their own offspring. King Lear was rejected by his two elder sisters and Gloucester was rejected by his son Edmund. Now the story is that there is a ray of hope in the form of Cordelia. And what is that? That there is the presence of goodness in the world. King Lear has two bad daughters, but he has one good daughter, Cordelia. On the other hand, Gloucester has one evil-natured son, but he has Edgar, who is a good man. So even in a tragedy, Shakespeare never loses optimism. Yes, there is something in life, in the world to live. Life is worth living. World is a worth living place. When we come to the important themes of this drama, There are some very important themes. Let's discuss them in a very short way. First, we have justice. There is no justice in this world, so there is no justice in this play. So we can see it the way injustice was done to King Lear, Cordelia, and her Gloucester. They became the victim of this unjust world. That injustice leads to King Lear, the very miserable status. First his madness and ultimately his death. Then we have the theme of authority versus chaos. When King Lear was ruling Britain, there was order, there was authority, and everything was alright. There was peace. Yes, there was absolute power, its implementation, but there was peace. But on the other hand, when he divided his kingdom, there was chaos, disorder, in the form of the rule and cruelties of Goneril and Regan. So from peace, the play moves towards destruction and disorder. Then we have third very important theme. This is of reconciliation. Yes, the play has a very tragic end, one of the most tragic ends of any of Shakespeare's great tragedies. But one thing which is like a light in the darkness, that even in this very dark circumstance, this relation of Cordelia and King Lear, which proves that life is worth living. Cordelia comes back, they both are reunited, she even sacrifices her peace and everything for her father. But ultimately, she saw that very tragic end. But anyhow, their reunion shows that yes, there is a kind of reconciliation in the world. The things can be normalized. Same happens at the end when the order was restored after the death of King Lear and his whole family. It died. Okay, then we have another very important theme. This is one of the modern themes as well, which is there in King Lear, nihilism. That life and world, they're both meaningless. On one hand, it is reflected by the character of Earl of Gloucester. When his eyes they were gouged, what happens? He is so shocked that he says that life is not worth living. Everything is meaningless. Okay, he blames fate and gods for his tragic end. So he says, like flies to wanton boys, are we to gods? They kill us for their sport. On the other hand, King Lear, when becomes mad, so he reaches to such a level where he does not love anybody, not even the world, not any relation. Okay, so instead of talking or using words, he now starts howling in the fitness of mad condition. Okay, then we have fifth important theme. This is of self-knowledge, and this is one of the tragic flaws of King Lear. King Lear gets self-knowledge, but at the cost of his power, his kingdom, his authority, anything. So he himself confesses. He says that I'm a very foolish, fond old man, but it was too late. This knowledge of self became too late when he lost everything. The last theme of this drama is unreliability of speech. That words are not spoken by heart at all. The words of Goneril and Regan, they are based on flattery. They are very empty words because their actions were very different. On the other hand, the words of Edmund, he uses words to exploit his father. Okay, so this shows that even the language is abundant at the end. When King Lear, instead of using words and languages, he howls, howl, 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 howl. So this shows the unreliability of the speech, where we cannot believe even the words. So I'll conclude my lecture in a few words. King Lear is one of Shakespeare's greatest tragedy. It is very dark tragedy. It focuses on the human relations, how much evil there is in humans. And there's additional information here that women can also be cruel. when they come to cruelty, sometimes they are more cruel than even male members of society. For example, Goneril and Regan, they are more cruel than their husbands, than any other cruel character of this tragedy. And then we have the character of Cordelia, which shows the presence of goodness in this world. Yes, the world may have goodness. And finally, the normalization of the order, which is mostly Shakespeare's routine. That even in great dark tragedies, at the end, Shakespeare normalizes the order. This shows that life is worth living, and world is a worth living place. That's all for today for this lecture. Hopefully you must have understood it. Hopefully we will meet in next video soon, inshallah. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.